Welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, here in a very sunny Ibiza.
And morning, did you say? I think you said afternoon. No,
I,
Mark, you
I
keep
think
getting
I,
it wrong.
I think I said
I know you
hello.
have late nights these days.
I think I said hello, Richie. Actually,
Did you? Anyway, hello from Mallorca, me, Richie Pryor. I'm here, and it's beautiful and sunny here as well, Mark. Lovely.
very. It's a bit fresh, but nice, mate.
Mm.
What I would say, Richie, is I've never known a start of season so busy in Ibiza, specifically San Antonio, and not just busy. Lots of young people, which we don't usually get in May, but I think because the clubs have come forward, the young people have come forward as well. What's it looking like over there?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we've had a busy week here. Obviously, we've had the Palmer Boat Show, and that was mobbed. I mean, when I say mobbed, I was there, so I could see it. But also, we had the big Mallorca Beach Rugby Tournament at the weekend in Magaluf, and that's always a big event. There's over 80 teams, I think, competed in the event this year. So, yeah, it's been a very busy week, and that's a positive start, Mark. Then I saw, obviously, in the port lots of cruise ships as well.
Ooh.
And then when I wandered into Palma, well, that's always a
Yeah, I was
bone
going to
of
say. I mean,
contention,
I
isn't it?
know. Listen, when you say cruise ship, I'm always like, ooh, because they really are Marmite, aren't they? Some people love them,
They
some people
are. They
hate them.
are. I mean, I think they're great. Listen, I think they're literally normally here for 24 hours. But when I was wandering, so I did have to park my car quite a long way away from where I was supposed to be at the boat show. And as I was wandering through, I thought, "Blimey, these bars are busy." Do you know what I mean? You can see the bars and the cafes, particularly around the cathedral area, very, very busy. Which I think can only be a positive thing. I mean, it's listen, we keep talking about this subject every week nearly. Do you know what I mean? It sort of in the end you get bored with it. But we are a tourist
No, I
destination.
know.
That's what we do. Do
Really? Are
you know what I
we?
mean?
Can you please tell the
Well,
people from Prower Ibiza that, or the people from,
well,
the
we had a
loony
protest in
leftings?
Soyer this. We had a protest in Soyer this week. A grand total of 50 people. I'm tempted to start my own. I want tourists here. Yeah, listen, I understand. And funny enough, I did an interview with a guy called Brad Robertson. And Brad owns a company called Save the Med, who are obviously interested in, preserving what we've got. And I get it and I understand it. And I think that should be the way. I think, you know what I mean? I do. But let's get everybody around the table and let's talk sensibly about it instead of just getting your own politics in the way of something that you think you believe in, which in reality you don't. Because when they're all having a good old go about who rents their house out and who doesn't, I imagine probably 75% of them might have key people anyway that are renting them out. I'm not,
Absolutely.
I'm not just saying that, but I think that's true.
Isn't it a bit like
Anyway,
net
rant
zero?
over.
Isn't it a bit like net? Yeah, no, listen, you're always, it was a good rant that was, Rich, but isn't it a bit like net zero, Rich? We know where we want to go to, but we're just arguing about how we get there
Ah,
because,
yeah, totally.
because I mean,
Totally.
it's like you're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway, great rant, Richie. I love that, mate. It's a good way to start off episode
Well,
20. Episode 20. Um,
yeah.
well,
Listen, I just want to also say,
go on.
last week we had a very nice comment from Lucy Gorman. I don't know if you saw that comment because we were talking about the government campaign to look after your mates
Yeah,
while you're
stick
away
with
from
stick with your mates from the
stick
British
with your
government. Yeah,
mates.
yeah,
That's it. That's it. And Lucy is the consul general, head of consular services for Spain and Andorra.
yeah.
And she wrote us a very nice message to say, thank you for mentioning the Stick With Your Mates campaign. And I've invited Lucy on, so hopefully she's listening. Lucy, if you're listening,
Yeah,
we'd love to get you on. We'd love to talk to you about, the work that you do to, look after all the tourists that do come to Mallorca,
yeah,
Ibiza, Formentera, Menorca over the course of the summer.
yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I've met Lucy many times. She's a lovely girl. Does a really
Yeah,
good
she
job for the
is.
British consul
She
as well.
does.
Anyway,
She
this is
does.
talking Balearics. Richie, what have you got for me this week?
Well, there's an interesting little, a few stories actually, Mark. To be perfectly honest, one is a continuation of a story we talked about last week. Concern amongst, you were talking about it, the fact that too many drunken tourists getting on planes, etc. And
Yeah,
Michael O'Leary, who we talk about Marmite, he's another a guy who's you either like him or you loathe him. But he's made a couple of, I think, very poignant comments, which I think we should talk about today in relation to what we talked about last week.
yeah.
Also, no tourist tax hike in the Balearics,
Ooh,
which I'm not quite sure whether that's the right move, but we can talk about that. And also, no limiting of the purchase of homes by foreigners in the Balearics, which is something that I know obviously you are interested in the business that you're in as well. So there are a few good subjects there.
Yeah, that was actually the one that podcast that we did with the news of that was our most listened to podcast ever. So I think that really is relevant to the people who listen to our podcast. So look forward to that. I've just got a few things, Rich, today. I've got a big bust at Ibiza Airport, which is very pertinent.
A big bust at Ibiza
A
Airport.
big bust. I mean,
that's not unusual.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, you'll find out when I tell you the type of bust it is. Probably not the type of bust we want it to be. An interesting story too about wastage. Now, Ibiza is a small island, and we've got a bit of a problem with the wastage. What I mean is basically the rubbish.
Yeah.
So a bit of a story about that, and also the medieval fiesta, which is really popular, which I've never been to, by the way, because I'm quite embarrassed about this. But it's this weekend, and this weekend is usually our Balearic Cup cricket weekend, so it coincides. But the medieval Ibiza fiesta, or festival, should I say, is on this weekend. I've got some interesting numbers about that, Rich. So just three things from me today, but again, all relevant.
Can I just say a quick thing, Mark, which I didn't mention, and I think I should mention the fact that last week we, as the radio station, did outside broadcast from the boat show. I was very, very impressed. We sort of immersed ourselves a little bit into the yachting industry, which is something that I don't know too much about. I have to hold my hands up and say. Yep. But the Balearics encompasses 879 companies generating 1.106 billion euros in revenue, and creates just over 5,000 jobs with the annual growth rate of around about 4.26%. And that creates 3.1% of our Balearic GDP.
What's that? Is that boating, did you say?
Yeah, the yachting industry.
The yachting industry in general, right? Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Across the Balearics. It's a huge industry, and obviously it brings in a lot of money, it brings in a lot of employment. And I was very, very impressed by what I saw at the boat show last week. Very impressed indeed. A lot of big companies doing lots of great things, and looking to expand as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we touched on it last week, Richie. I mean, I've been involved in boating for best part of 20 years, and it's almost a completely different side, different ambience. As you said, it's interesting because you said that you've never been involved before, but once you get involved in it, it's like nothing else, isn't it? You've got these tourists who come over, they stay on the boats, they drink in the best bars, they go to the best restaurants. It's a real booming economy as well, and sometimes I don't think it gets the credit it deserves.
No, because on top of that, you've got to remember that those boats have got to be refueled. Those boats are obviously manned by a crew, of course, as well, and they're provisioned by companies that work here as well. So there's a lot of third party work that goes on with the boating industry as well as just the main part of the industry as well. So I thought it was great, and I'm really looking forward already to next year.
I'm glad after 35 years on the island, Rich, you finally getting involved in the boating. Yeah, I know.
But listen, terrible, isn't it?
Better late than never. You've been stuck in Magaluf. You've been stuck in Magaluf for all those years while we've been enjoying ourselves in Port Tales News.
Yeah, but there's two things, Mark. One obviously, I was involved with a shipwreck because I was a pirate for most of my life, but also the fact that I can't afford to buy a boat anyway. So as much as I can get in without having to buy one is the better for me, I think.
So, Rich, fire away. What's your first item on the agenda this week?
Well, Michael O'Leary, who's, as I say, is somebody that you like or you don't. I agree with some of the things he does. I disagree with others, but that's like most things in life, I think, possibly. But he's suggested that limiting passengers to just 2 drinks before they get on board could be a solution to the drinking policy. And he said a line which I sort of thought about, and I thought, he's right, He says, we don't allow people to drink and drive, yet we keep putting them up in an aircraft having drunk 10 pints of beer at 33,000 feet. I'm not suggesting that we have, a breath test before you get on the plane, but, it could be going down that route because, as you said last week, things are getting more dangerous and lots of planes being diverted and everything else. And I wouldn't be, I'm surprised that the airlines haven't maybe done something like a warning video. Do you know what I mean? Before they used to do all the videos. You remember? Well, if you go long haul, you still get the videos, but now it's on the no frills. It's a sort of, it's a recorded thing, isn't it? It's not done on TV anymore. But maybe, to say to people that, if a flight has to be diverted because of your misbehavior, you'll be paying for that flight, you'll be paying all the expenses, and you'll be banned from flying by every single airline around the world. I mean, surely that has to be a deterrent for what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I posted a video of us online actually last week talking about it, and that I don't know if you saw it, we got several comments below. 2 or 3 people said yes, zero tolerance, no drinks. A couple of people went, why should I be penalised? I like a drink on board.
Agree.
Another one said, breath tests on a ride on when you're boarding. Rich, my concern here is that it's getting out of hand. And the point I was trying to make last week was we're used to that happening in July and August, but this was happening now in April. So where is it all going to end? And I feel that it's one of those stupid things that it will only end when there's a disaster. And I've been on these flights. I've seen the way people behave. We've seen the videos as well, and there is going to be a breaking point here. And I just don't want it to happen, anytime soon. And I just think that there's got to come up with an alternative. And I honestly believe it's profit before safety. I really do. And I don't think other cultures do it. I don't think, I've flown from France, I've flown from Germany, I've flown from Switzerland, and the flights have always been a bit lively and people are happy and they maybe have a couple of drinks, but nothing like I've seen on the UK flight. So I think it is a UK and Irish problem. And I think something has to be done. And the irony is Michael O'Leary, who, by the way, I like a lot. I've always had a lot of time for Michael O'Leary. I think he talks straightforward common sense, which is in this day and age is not easy to come by. I think what he's saying is we'll forsake a bit of our profits too, because we believe in safety. And as I said to you last week, it's us in resort in Mallorca and Ibiza who have to pick up the pieces of these people. And I led into it last week by the tragedy from the balcony. It kind of goes hand in hand, Richie, where you get on the aircraft, you think you can do what you want, you drink loads, you arrive on the islands, you do what you want, you go out, you have drugs, and things happen, don't they? So something's got to give.
Yeah, and listen, I think I've totally lost my train of thought with the Michael Leary thing. I think, but yeah, you're right. He does things that you like, and he does things like that. And it's like if people say, I'll never travel with that airline. But if they are the cheapest, sometimes you're going to pick that flight because it's the cheapest flight, and you want to get somewhere quickly. It's there to be had. The only thing that's going to happen if they ban drinking on the flights, they're going to put the prices up. I mean, that's obvious. Do you know what I mean? So,
they're going to put the prices up. They're going to put the prices up anyway, Rich. I mean, Ibiza has the most expensive flights in Europe anyway. The same line or the same route that you have in Mallorca and Ibiza, people pay more in Ibiza. That's a fact, because people are prepared to pay more than Ibiza because it's the best destination, as we know.
Oh, here we go. He's at it again. Look. He's at it again.
Talking of airports, Rich, we had a little bit of a bust last week, and it's not the bust that me and you probably like to look at now and again.
Not a bust up.
No, it was a drugs bust at Ibiza Airport, because Ibiza is synonymous with drugs. It's whether we like it or not. It's the dance culture. You might not agree with this, or you might not understand it, but the clubbing culture of Ibiza was built on the back of drugs. It's as simple as that. And it's still a thriving economy over here. You're not going to stop it. It's one of those things. It's almost accepted on the island. The liberal Spanish laws mean that more often than not, the police turn a blind eye to personal use. However, there's a 22-year-old Dutchman who came to Ibiza last week with 2 suitcases, 50 kilos in total, which he must have been over his allowance. 50 kilos. You only get 20 euros on Ryanair, don't you?
20 kilos, what? 20 kilos.
It's 20 kilos. Yeah, and in the actual 2 suitcases, he had 163,000 ecstasy pills, right? Pink ones, 163,000. And needless to say, he's now in jail, in prison, awaiting trial. I don't think he's going to get out anytime soon. But I don't know if you get him in Mallorca at the moment. There seems to be a lot of sniffer dogs out. Every time I've been through the airport over the last 3 or 4 times I've travelled, sniffer dogs are there. So, I mean, what an idiot, you know. I mean, 163,000 pills in 2 suitcases. I mean, come on, 22 years of age. What an idiot. So, you know, it's laughable at on one side because the guy obviously is pretty stupid, but on the other hand, it slaps in the face the reality of the summer in Ibiza.
Mm. Yeah. I agree. I agree. This is something we need to talk about. Is the tourist tax is something we do talk about on here quite often, and it's just been passed today, or just been voted on today by the PP and Vox parties in the Balearic Parliament in favour of approving the new tourism decree by both parties to curb tourist saturation on the islands. And the decree does not include an increase in the eco tourist tax or new tax on rental cars or private vehicles used for tourist purposes. I really need to have a good read of this because it's literally only just come out, this story, in the last hour or so. But I think more important to me is there's no rise in the tourist tax. Where one thing, I mean, I didn't agree with the tourist tax to begin with. I'll be totally honest with you, but I think now I do, and obviously I want it to be sort of paid for by all the stuff that gets paid for by the tourist tax. I think there is an opportunity to actually make it rise in the high season because people are paying it, because people are coming abroad, and the prices of flights and holidays, etc., right now is horrendous.
Well, the hotel lobby have always argued against it, saying it really puts up the price of a holiday a lot. However, you know, what's a G&T? What's a G&T in Port Ales? What's a G&T in Palma? I don't know, what is it, 12, 13, 15?
So it's probably nearer 15, I
Yeah,
imagine.
I mean, over here in a Sunset bar, a G&T will cost you the best part of 20 euros. So
No.
it's just a case of understanding that what you can charge and what you can't charge. I think it's quite safe to say that we are converts, aren't we, to the tourist tax, Rich?
We are, mate. Yes,
Yeah,
we didn't agree with it to begin with. We are.
and I
Yes.
never agreed with it, and I think we're outliers because we're one of the few people who actually talk about it. It's almost been brushed under the carpet, hasn't it, by most people?
Mm,
But you know,
yeah.
if they are going to charge it, let's charge it. Let's do things properly and spend the money wisely.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. What else you got, Mark?
Well, I've got a little story about rubbish. You know, that's what they said to me when I was on a reality TV show not so long ago. They used to shout that at the screen, didn't they? Rubbish. However, this is a story about sustainability again. We often go on to talk about sustainability, don't we? Because on a small island, you live in a pretty big island, Rich, but here in Ibiza, we literally are what, a seventh of the size of Mallorca, and with all the
Mhm.
wastage that goes in, especially the plastic wastage as well. We have a landfill site called Canapucha, but that's filling up rapidly. So to overcome this, they've done a deal with you guys. Now, did you know what your incinerator's called, Rich? I'm trying to think what
Is
it's.
it Son Reyes, is it?
Yes, it is, mate. Yeah, I never knew.
You
So,
see,
so presumably you've got a big incinerator over there in the middle
we
of
have.
your. I mean, it's I
Yeah.
don't know where it is, but is it? I
Just
presume it's
outside
in.
Palma, I think it is.
Is it? Yeah, I presume it's
I
inland
think so.
somewhere, a big
Mm.
incinerator. And we've done a deal, Ibiza have done a deal that we are going to ship our waste to Mallorca now. So we're going to ship our waste over to Mallorca. Your Sunrius incinerator is running at 70% apparently. So
Okay.
you can take our waste as well, which is nice. So
Oh, great.
we're now going to ship all our rubbish over to Mallorca. And you're going to deal with it, which I think as the big brother, that's exactly what you should be doing. But all joking aside, I think it just shows you the challenges. You know, people see Ibiza as this kind of mecca, and Mallorca is mecca for holidays. But the reality of the situation is, people are using items. There's a lot of wastage out there, and it needs dealing with. So thanks to Mallorca, our waste is now going to your island from our island. And I think the biggest challenge on it as well, which I was reading, is how they're going to get it there. That's the thing, because you've seen these kind of barges in China and Maldives and stuff like that, just full of wastage, haven't that, isn't it? So it's going to be interesting to. They're arguing at the moment how they're going to transport the wastage from Ibiza and Formentera over to Mallorca, but I presume that will get sorted. But thanks to Mallorca, we're going to be solving that situation easier than we did before.
Well, the Joint Committee of Congress and Senate have today voted against a plan from the Gomera Socialist Association and a senator for Ibiza and Formentera to establish a regulatory framework that would limit and regulate or condition the purchase of property by non-residents in the Balearic and Canary Islands.
Okay, do you want to break that down for me, Rich?
Well, basically, that means that anybody can buy property. They were trying to bring in this, basically, back in the real world.
Man, you were getting a bit overly detailed there, man. What you're trying to say is no limit,
it, mate. That's why.
Okay, yes, okay.
Basically, there's no limit. Basically, there's no limits. And they were trying to bring in this thing that to ban foreigners from buying property, because they say that all the foreigners that are buying the property are the people that are renting out. And go back to my rant at the beginning of this podcast, and I guarantee you that it's not the foreign problem. The problem is a Spanish problem, if the truth be known, or it's a mix of the two. Let's be a little bit more nicer about it. Maybe it's probably a mix of the two, and I think it's you can't regulate it against who buys a property. It's ridiculous.
I mean, we said at the start, it was political semantics, wasn't it? Really? It wasn't semantics. It was posturing, wasn't it? By Pedro Sanchez. I mean, I've got no love for Pedro Sanchez, but I think he was just trying to score some very cheap points with that proposition, and it was never going to happen. The numbers didn't stack up. And it was ridiculous. So we knew it was going to get thrown out. It was just a matter of time. So it's good to see that actually they're putting that to bed earlier rather than later. So yeah, good. So if you're a foreigner, and I'm selling, listen, the market. I mean, I don't talk about my work that much, do I? But we're selling lots of houses at the moment. And the last 3 houses we've sold in the last 5 weeks, sold 3 houses, all to British people. So usually before it was Dutch, maybe the odd German, but the last 3 have been British people. So you never know. There might be a bit of an upturn. You never know. Medieval Festival, Richie.
Yeah, what is it?
Do you have that? Do you have that in Palma at all?
We have a medieval festival in Santa Ponza in September.
Right.
But in Palma, it doesn't ring a bell to me.
No, I mean,
may well do, but
yeah, I mean, it's as I say. Unfortunately, I've never been because it falls on the same weekend as our cricket weekend, which is always a really serious weekend. But this coming weekend, they literally, the old town of Ibiza, I think it's a specialist company to come and do it, and they dress it up as the medieval times. There's jousting, there's hog roasts, there's people on the streets, and it's a fantastic atmosphere. 150,000 people are expected to go and see it. It's pretty impressive. There's 200 stalls going to be there. There's going to be 100 artists performing. They've got falconry, archery, they've got Arabian dances, they've got concerts, and basically they changed Ibiza into like a 16th century medieval fortress, which is really, really good. Yeah, it's amazing, mate. And as I say, the feedback, unfortunately, I can't say it personally, but the feedback I've all heard from friends and family said it's absolutely amazing. So if you're in Ibiza this weekend, look out for the medieval festival and enjoy it.
The Balearic Cricket Cup, is it this weekend?
Yeah, we go to Menorca on Friday morning. We're playing against you guys. Playing against Menorca on Friday. That's Ibiza, Menorca on Friday, and we're playing against Mallorca on Saturday. So we are the reigning champions. Ibiza, they've won it for the last 3 years. So let's see if we can retain the cup. Yeah, this year as well. And I've got to say, before I go, Rich, I was in Bilbao last Thursday. I told you I was going.
Yeah, good, Mark.
It was amazing. I've got to say, Bilbao, what an amazing city. And if you're a football fan, it's probably one of the best experiences you're ever going to have. So nothing but love for Bilbao.
Good. All right, Mark. That's
fantastic.
It for today.
Perfect, Rich. Great to see you.
And you, mate. You take care.
Look forward to speaking to you next week, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Take care.